We get a rematch of last season's AFC Championship game this weekend when the Buffalo Bills travel to Arrowhead to do battle with the Kansas City Chiefs. Matt, I have a simple question for you. With both of these teams coming off impressive Super Wildcard Weekend victories, who was the most impressive in their win?
I got to go with the Bills just because of what they were able to do compared to what they had done previously against New England. Yeah. Not to mention that it's Bill Belichick. He's known for getting his teams ready for the playoffs. That was one of the best defenses in the league all season.
Yeah.
And they played a perfect game. They literally played a perfect game and completely dismantled this New England Patriots team that I think a lot of people wanted to start thinking as maybe a dark horse, surprise team in the playoffs. They embarrassed them, and the way that they did it, and the way that they were able to do it both on defense and offense, it has to be the Bills. And I mean, I've been anti-Steelers fan all season.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with that. I just think that it was kind of set in stone that the Chiefs were going to beat the Steelers as soon as that was the draw.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was still some people who thought that maybe New England could surprise the Bills a little bit. And that's why I'm going with the Bills.
That makes sense. Listen, the Chiefs were impressive as hell in that victory over the Steelers. Patrick Mahomes.
They did what they needed to do.
100%.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes was spectacular. 5 touchdowns in a playoff game. And no matter who you're playing, no matter what round, is impressive. He did have the one interception earlier, but after that T.J. Watt touchdown earlier in that game, it was all Chiefs, and they played a perfect game for the second quarter on. But I actually have to agree with you. I think the Bills' win over the Patriots was just a little bit more impressive for many of the reasons that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Most notably, I have to give Josh Allen his credit. Josh Allen, after inking that massive contract extension, he has not lived up to it. He's been a thief as far as I'm concerned. I've been known to some people as a Josh Allen hater. I don't subscribe to that thinking, but he was lights out over the weekend against, like you mentioned, probably the best defense in the regular season all season. And again, this is coached by Bill Belichick. This is Bill Belichick's worst playoff loss. And again, it came at the hands of Josh Allen, who had more touchdowns than incompletions. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. The touchdown he had early on at Dawson Knox in the corner of the end zone was a special play. And they like you said, they embarrassed the New England Patriots. That doesn't really happen much to Bill Belichick-led teams. But obviously that brings us to the matchup this weekend.
Yep.
What are you seeing? How are you feeling? Who do you like to win?
I mean, first off, I think we can both agree before we start to disagree that this feels like it's the AFC title game. It really should be the AFC title game.
Probably.
These are electric offenses. These are defenses that have stepped up towards the end of the season.
No doubt.
I can't wait to watch this game. Probably going to be the best game of the weekend. But I have the Bills. I think that you saw them start to string together some important wins as the season ended. Obviously, they played New England twice during that span, and they get wins against both of them, one in Buffalo, one in Foxborough.
Yeah.
And they played to the highest of their potential. They played like they were a team that made the AFC title game last year. Josh Allen played like he was an MVP candidate last year. And I think they can continue that. Also, they're not going to be as intimidated as Arrowhead because they were able to go in and get the win.
Right.
And I think everything that Kansas City can do and they do well, I think the Bills can match that. And so it's just going to come down to who shows up and who wants it more. And that's why it's going to be so exciting. And the scary part is that Buffalo's figured out a run game recently with Josh Allen, with Devin Singletary.
Yep.
And I think that could be a big X factor as you start to look at those little things that are going to give one side an edge over the other.
It's a great point you make, especially about the run games, and really for both teams. I mean, with the Bills, Josh Allen with the ball in his hands is a load. That's a scary human being running full speed at you. And you mentioned it, Devin Singletary, has really come on the last half of this season, really given the Bills an identity in the run game that doesn't, completely revolve around Josh Allen. And that's important for an offense that, as we know, loves to throw the ball, loves to stretch, the ball down the field vertically. But the same really can be said for the Chiefs. We were just talking about it before the show. Every Chiefs running back this season has really shown hints flashes of greatness, whether it be Darrell Williams, whether it be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Gore, Jerick McKinnon, who went crazy on the Steelers in that Super Bowl wildcard round. All of those guys have had, weeks where you're like, this was an elite performance, and I think that has to be chalked up not only to the talent of those guys, but this Chiefs offensive line is elite, led by kind of their Pro Bowl, All-Pro center Creed Humphrey, Orlando Brown at left tackle. This offensive line is elite, and when you give someone like Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the NFL, an elite offensive line to work with, a consistent, some semblance of a running game. You still have a healthy Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. I love the Chiefs to roll this weekend. You know how I like to look at football games. Yeah. I like to look at the quarterback. The Bills are well coached. The Bills have a great defense. The Bills, as we just talked about, they have Stephon Diggs. They have a great running game now, it appears. But the difference is going to come down to Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen late in the game. And I think it's pretty safe to say who people should be placing their money on. And again, if we know anything, if you've watched Josh Allen over the last 2 seasons, or really since he's been in the NFL, this has been his career trajectory week by week. And we just talked about Josh Allen played a near perfect game last week. Do we expect him to play another near perfect game, or do we expect him to kind of come down to earth a little bit more against a great Chiefs defense?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the turning point. I mean, to your point, you can look at that.
It would be.
And you could make that argument, and I think that that's going to be the difference. And I think that when you look at what this Chiefs team does really well on defense, Josh Allen is going to be the X factor in the sense that they rush the passer well, but if Josh Allen can get out and run with the ball, he's going to create problems in that sense. And then if they're not able to rush and blitz like they like to, that secondary is susceptible to being picked apart. And so then, to your point, it's going to be Josh Allen, and that's going to be the exciting part about this. You're watching 2 of the best teams in the AFC, 2 teams that if they win, they're probably going to be favorites to head to the Super Bowl. And it's going to come down to the guys that you want it to come down to. It's going to come down to the quarterback. And I think Josh Allen can make that turning point and turn the corner in his career where he's not going to be up and down as much. He's going to make that statement, and Buffalo's going to be an AFC title contender for the next few years to come as long as they have Allen at quarterback.
Bills Mafia would sure like to think so. One last question before we get out of here. A few months ago, you mentioned on BVM Sports Chalk Talk that the Bills were your Super Bowl pick. Do you still feel that same way?
I do feel that same way, and I'm feeling really good after that New England game. It's hard to be worried after seeing that, but obviously you're going up against a Chiefs team, and it's just going to be a great game, no matter what.
Yeah, I can't wait. I like the Chiefs this weekend. I like the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl next month. So a lot at stake this weekend.
A lot at stake.
Can't wait to see it unfold. But that's going to do it for us. For Scott Procter, for Matt Morris, we'll catch you next time.